Moose and Keith, sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy. Prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. And now, here are your hosts, Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Yes, sir. It is Moose and Keith on a Monday morning. He is Mark Malusis. I am Keith Irizarry. Thrive Fantasy. Welcome to the family. We love it. Daily fantasy sports. You got esports. And I think in hour two, Mark, we're going to go through a challenge that Thrive Fantasy does. So on their app, there are different ways to, do player props. And it's really kind of cool is the fact that it's not like all the stars are there for you. All the numbers are there for you. And you kind of just click buttons. And there you go. You can pick up to 10 props in these challenges. And I did one from Monday Night Football. And I think I have a winning lineup. Moose, how was your weekend?
It was good. I can't wait to hear what your lineup is. And we want to thank Thrive Fantasy for joining the Bettor Sports Network and sponsoring Moose and Keith here, Monday through Friday. We're excited that Thrive Fantasy is aboard, and I'm looking forward to your lineup. Overall weekend was good. To answer your question, long story long, busy weekend all over the place with the kids and games and Rutgers on Saturday. They won, knocked off Indiana. Busy day yesterday, with a football show Sunday mornings on WFAN in New York. And then I got my work late into the night last night at WPIX. So we have a show that goes live, an hour-long sports show every Sunday night from 11 to midnight. So I got to get you on that show, Keith.
Hey, you say the word and I will do anything for you, Moose. You know that.
Yes.
We got
to get you on.
Yeah, I'm down. All right. So NBA is weird right now. There are some teams that are 3-0 that you'd be surprised. There are some 0-3 teams that you're surprised. We'll talk about that today as well. Week 7 NFL. The Giants are the greatest team that's ever happened in football, right? They are right now 6-1. They're playing great football. Got injuries to discuss. But I think we start with the teams that are now headed to the World Series, Moose. Let's roll it. Phillies first. Go.
Hoskins well off the line at first base. Segura a step up the middle at second. Suarez kicks. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball. Popped up. Shallow right. Segura going out. Castellanos coming on. Castellanos has it. And the Phillies have the National League Championship. They have beaten the Padres 4-3, and they celebrate on their home turf as the Phillies are the 2022 NL champs.
Amazing. Joe Davis on Fox with the call. Moose. I don't know if Joe Davis gets enough notoriety, right? Like, I think sometimes people kind of don't realize how good he is. I mean, his Bryce Harper home run call was insanity. Like, Harper's unreal.
Life.
The call was great. These Phillies are awesome. Level of surprise for you that the Phillies have been able to do this?
Yeah, stunned.
Yeah.
I mean, that they're there. I mean, I think, 1 to 10, like a 9. I think they were the last team into the playoffs in the National League. And then to go through and beat the team that kind of people thought was maybe the dark horse going in, the St. Louis Cardinals, then to go through the Atlanta Braves, not just go through the Atlanta Braves, they embarrassed the Atlanta Braves. A team that came back and embarrassed the Mets at the end of the regular season to take down the National League East, and then to go through San Diego as easily as they did, for this not to be a long series, for it not to be going back to San Diego for a game 6. It's surprising. Give the Phillies, the bullpen was better. Rob Thompson did a great job. I think, he was the better manager. I have no idea why you do not bring in Hader yesterday to face Bryce Harper in the 8th inning. When that's the guy you bring in that spot, that you have Suarez up on the mound at that time for San Diego, and he gives up the 2-run home run that you knew was a home run right off of his bat, into the left center field seats down there in Philadelphia. That's going to be a long flight home, or was a long flight home last night for the San Diego Padres, because that is a managerial gaffe. I don't understand why Grisham, first and second, 1 out, is bunting to set it up for Nola, who then flies out to right field. As they brought Ranger Suarez to the mound after David Robertson couldn't fight in the strike zone. So surprising. I mean, give Philadelphia credit. If you were a Philadelphia backer, if you bet them to go on this kind of a run, if you're just a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies, congratulations. It's amazing. Harper, as Frank Thomas said on Fox, that his son called him and said, Harper is him. And, they were, and what that means is like he's a all-time great, just
He's
like
the best
Frank
player,
Thomas. And, and that is true. Everything that Bryce Harper was supposed to be when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, he's turned out to be. That's that kind of run that he's on right now. And that city is absolutely rocking and they're enjoying it. I love the scenes down there in Philadelphia, Keith. It's an amazing run. But if you're asking me level surprise, we never talked about the Phillies being a potential World Series champion. We looked at it kind of being, 4 teams that could win it. Astros in the American League, and then the 3 in the National League being the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Mets. And then kind of being a chasm to everybody else. And here comes the Philadelphia Phillies. You get into the debate and the argument, is that good for Major League Baseball? Like, is it good that the regular season is kind of deemed meaningless when you get to the postseason? Does it limit the impact of winning the World Series or the accomplishment? I don't think it does. I think it just shows you it is a very, very difficult to go out there and win. And give the Phillies credit. There's things to like about Philadelphia with the way that Nola and Wheeler pitched at the top of the rotation. They've settled down with their bullpen, and their hitters in the day of the long ball have come out, and they've, whether it be Hoskins, Harper, everybody else, they've come through and had big-time hits for this team.
Phillies were 22-1 odds to make it to the World Series, to get out of the National League. We said it about a week and a half ago. Bryce Harper, 41 odds to win the World Series MVP. Those were long odds. Hope maybe some people tailed us when we discussed that. I do not think that the Phillies getting to the World Series is bad for Major League Baseball. What I think happened here, which is good, is that the Astros get there. And I think that Major League Baseball needed one of the best teams to be there. Astros were one of the 2 or 3 best teams in all of baseball. And now you've got, dare I say, an upstart underdog team. The Rocky music is playing in and out of all the Fox breaks for Philly. Bryce Harper is the best hitter on the planet right now. If you were betting his over on 1.5 total bases all throughout this postseason, you nailed it. You're swimming in money right now. You're loving that. If you had some Rhys Hoskins home run props, you're loving that. Like, we can always turn this to the betting slant here. I think the Phillies are live. And yeah. I think that the fact that you mentioned it, Wheeler and Nola, and I know Nola's last start wasn't great, but Wheeler and Nola, when you put them head to head against Verlander and Framber Valdez, it's similar. Probably a little bit of an edge to the Astros, but it's similar.
Yeah, the decided difference is the bullpens.
Yeah, but the Phillies bullpen has been better this year. I know it hasn't actually been great in the postseason.
It's been better. It's not the Astros.
It's not the Astros. You are correct.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, last year they were historically bad. So, yes, I agree. And listen, I root for David Robertson, a former Yankee.
Sure.
Even though he couldn't find the strike zone last night, it was good to see Robertson pitching back in a meaningful game last night. And overcoming that calf injury they suffered, the series before, or in the Cardinal series in the wild card round, because he wasn't on the divisional series roster. So yeah, I think the Phillies are live because they've got a difference maker in Harper, who clearly right now is just at a ridiculous level, and he's impossible to pitch to. Now I would say that Alvarez in his at-bats later on in the series, I would say last night looked a lot better against the Yankees than he did the previous 3 games. Yep. Altuve's making more contact after his 23 start or whatever it was during these playoffs. So he's looked a little bit better. You still got Bregman, and you've got Tucker, and you've got listen, I'm not telling you the Phillies aren't live. They've beaten the Braves, and they went through the Padres, and they did it pretty decisively. So it's hard to come on the airwaves this morning and say, well, the Phillies can't beat the Houston Astros. Anything is possible. I would say, though, Houston is, on paper and just in reality, they're a better baseball team than what the Philadelphia Phillies have seen. They're better than San Diego, and the Houston Astros are better than the Atlanta Braves.
We do this here, obviously, from betting slants and also just from a story slant. I think that the best story would be the Phillies winning this World Series. I think, like rags to riches, right? Bryce Harper, they gave him all this money. It didn't look like it was going to pan out. It does. Like, I think that's the better storyline. From an intelligence standpoint, from studying these teams all year long and seeing what I see, think the Astros win in 5. That's my, like, as I sit here on Monday, October 24th at 10:10 in the morning, I think Astros in 5 seems like the play.
Yeah, you might. I mean, I think it's probably, I hope it's a 6-game series. Like, I hope one of these series go long. Like, we didn't get a long series in the NLCS. We didn't get a long series in the ALCS. I hope one of them goes long. Yeah, I mean, Astros in 6. Is that a better story? Is the Philadelphia Phillies a better story? Or is Dusty Baker winning a World Series the better story?
I like that too. You're right.
Because
that would be good. Yes.
Dusty is, I mean, he's a lifelong, he was a former player. He's been a manager in San Francisco with Barry Bonds, was a manager with the Chicago Cubs when you had the Steve Bartman, Olu down the left field line, Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood. I mean, that Chicago Cubs rendition where everybody and their mother thought they were going to the World Series. He was there. He's had some health issues, as he's talked about, having, cancer, and he had a stroke 7-8 years ago. He comes back, takes over a complete mess after the cheating scandal with the Astros that the Astros did to themselves, but he takes over because, you know what? He is as likable a guy as there is in Major League Baseball, right? He's not this, he's a guy that, gives you a great quote, likes to enjoy life, has fun,
chewing the toothpick,
Yes, is affable. I mean, there's so many things to like about Dusty Baker. Steps into an impossible spot. They put one of the most likable men in Major League Baseball into a spot that was basically like a cesspool. I mean, to try and change the vibes around with the Houston Astros. And here they are. They just swept away the Yankees last night, and they're in the Fall Classic. I get the Astros are hated, and I understand they cheated, and I understand the Yankees are they are not even close to what the Astros are. I get everything they've done in the past. You look at this Astros team, if you're able to kind of compartmentalize and just look at this group right here, they're a hell of a team. Like, there's not a significant weakness. Pena is a young superstar. They pick it. Maldonado is an unbelievable defensive catcher. You look at Presley as a closer. All he does is throw strikes. They take a guy like Rafael Montero, who was terrible last year with Seattle. He's become the strikeout man and the machine as a setup man. They've got one guy after another in that bullpen. Wealth of starting pitching. I mean, it's amazing what Houston's done. I think, to be honest with you, if the Astros win the World Series, I'd be really ecstatic that Dusty Baker finally won a World Series.
Let's get the radio call on how Houston got there.
The 1-2 to Judge. Ground ball, weakly hit. Presley has it. Jogs part of the way the first. Underhand Sayuli inside. Starts spreading the news. The Houston Astros break out the brooms in the Bronx, and they're headed back to the World Series for the 4th time in 6 years. Your 2022 American League champions, Houston Astros.
Robert Ford on 790 AM KBME in Houston. Moose, it's crazy. When you think about the numbers of the amount of times that they're going to the World Series, we should be discussing them as a dynasty, the Astros. But that cheating scandal is there, and it kind of looms a little bit. And I think it was on Friday, either Thursday or Friday, someone in our chat had asked us, if the Astros are to win the World Series this year, and clearly, like, they're not cheating, and you've got Dusty as the manager, how much of the stench, the stain of that does it wash away for you?
A portion of it. I mean, it's never going to go away. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, that'd be too easy to say that people are all of a sudden going to forget the Astros and their cheating scandal. I think there's fan bases that just love to hate on the Houston Astros. So it doesn't completely go away, Keith. I don't think it'll ever will. But I think for the group and guys that are still there that were on that 17 team, like Altuve, like Bregman, that were a part of that group, to finally do it the right way, I think it would mean a lot for them individually. But I think for people around Major League Baseball, Keith, I think people have long memories. They're always going to look at the Houston Astros as being cheaters. Yep. I mean, listen, I think you can. I mean, there are people that look at it and say, well, what are they doing now? They have to be doing something now because, I mean, I have no idea if they're doing anything right now. I'm going on the idea that they're doing it on the level. They're just a really good team. But I mean, so I don't think it goes away. But I think for the guys that have been there that long or part of that group, I think it would do a lot for them individually.
Yeah, I'm on the side also, Moose, where, and maybe it's naive sometimes, but I'd like to believe that, there's some sincerity in sports and there's some honesty in sports. I think the problem with the Astros in the long run is that guys like Bregman and Altuve were a major part of that team and are still a major part of this team. And that's where I think that some fans out there of the sport are just having problems letting that go. But you know what, Moose? Like, evil empire is what the Yankees were for how long? And it is great for the sport, right?
Yeah.
The Patriots with Tom Brady were the team that you, like, if you lived in that area, you loved. Otherwise, you hated them. I think the Astros are good for baseball right now. They're continuously a good baseball team in a really good spot going far in baseball. And people are still sitting there going, are you sure you're not banging this?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not? Like, like, I'm just saying, I think that it's good for sports.
Yeah, I think that when you have a villain, I think it's always good. And the Astros are the villainous team. I mean, so I don't disagree with that. I think it's I give them credit. I for as a Yankee fan, I'm in a way a little bit jealous. They have a group of players that used to be define what the Yankees are. And just kind of on a side note, and the Yankees aren't that anymore. I mean, to the comedy of errors that the Yankees have, not just on the field. I mean, the way that they embarrassed IKF in this postseason. I mean, put them to the bench and then bring them back out, and then they don't even put their best defensive shortstop on the field last night. Put all that aside. Put the lineup and Boone and the analysts and Fishman in that analytics department is a problem for the Yankees. But what the Astros do, the Yankees used to do. They take advantage of mistakes. You make a mistake, they're going to make you pay. You drop a fly ball in the outfield, the next guy's going to hit a 2-run home run. You don't turn a double play, the next guy's going to go out there and hit an RBI single that ties the game up. And then to compound the problem, the next guy's going to come up and rip an RBI single to take the lead. So there are things that the Astros do that the Yankees as a group used to do. When you see guys like Bernie Williams and Jeter and Paul O'Neill. So, yeah, there's a little bit of, jealousy when you look at a group that they are very, very difficult to beat. They're a lot of self-confidence. The Yankees are going out there before Game 4, and they have, one of their, coaches or one of the guys that work them, as their kind of mental coach is sending out videos of the 2004 comeback by the Boston Red Sox against the Yankees to try and motivate the Yankees to realize that this series is not over, down 3-0. Think about that. I mean, the Red Sox, that's not the Yankees. I mean, that is really not. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, that
was also
the series was once Cole lost that start, the series is over. I mean, they're not coming back against the Astros. And you're showing up hyped videos of the Red Sox come back against the Yankees in 2004. One of the most embarrassing moments in franchise history to the current Yankees to try and motivate them to come back against the Astros. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like that at all. Let's scroll through some of the chat where people are buzzing, people rooting for Bryce Harper. We got people saying this has to be killing Mike Trout. The Astros are the Warriors of baseball. I like that comparison a little bit, right?
Warriors have won more, though.
Sure. Yeah. But it's comparable. I don't have a problem with that. What about the Patriots? They were cheated and people forget.
Yeah, but people don't. I mean, that's where I'll disagree.
How many deflated football jokes are still made? I mean, come on.
Yes, people still talk about Deflategate. People still talk about that them taping, the Rams before that Super Bowl, Kurt Warner and everything like that. So that's where I don't know if there's a fair comp to the Astros. I don't think people are going to forget that the Astros cheated. I think you're going to have to look at it individually and feel good. Like I mentioned, and Keith and I talked about, I think you'd have to feel good for a Dusty Baker. I don't think the Warriors are a fair comparison because the Warriors have won more championships, right? Yep. The Astros have gotten there a lot, have gotten to the World Series a lot, but they haven't been able to finish the deal for one reason or another. I think that'll change this year. Like I do think the Astros are going to win the World Series this season, but maybe it just ends up being the Philadelphia Phillies year.
It might be.
But they have built a brand, and there's think about this. Say if the Warriors were continuing to win and Steph Curry left. That's what the Astros have been able to accomplish. They have lost Springer and Correa to free agency by their own choice, right? The Astros decide not to pay him, right? And they continue to win. Those are Those are
the Warriors
generational.
lost Durant, and then they 2 years later won another championship.
Right, I get it, but they also had won a title beforehand.
Yeah.
They had won a title with before. I mean, Durant hopped on the championship train. So that's why I look at Steph Curry. So if you take that group that without Kevin Durant, and say if I take Steph Curry or you take Klay Thompson off of the team, right? And Thompson was no longer there. And then all of a sudden the Warriors are still able to win a championship with a couple of new younger faces that you put into the mold, and they're still able to win. That's what the Astros have been able to accomplish. But it's really a credit to them. It's credit to that organization. Credit to them for not completely collapsing after what they did to themselves in the cheating scandal.
I want to take Baby J to task on this. When the Warriors are likable, the Astros are not. Are the Warriors likable? All right, so I don't think they are. Really? Draymond Green is likable. And he's
no,
like what?
Not,
and this is pre-punch. I'm not talking even about the punch. Draymond Green is not likable. And when you actually the minute there was any kind of stress level in Golden State when the team would either lose in the championship or was losing or anything, are we so sure that Curry on the court is crazy likable? The pounding his chest, poking to the sky, throwing his I don't know. Ernie's right. I think that Klay is very likable, but are we so sure? I don't know.
The Warriors don't bother me.
Every kid loves Curry.
I like Draymond Green. I think
why?
Why do I like Draymond Green? Because he's a winner. I was on NBA. I was doing a draft show the night that he got drafted at Michigan State, and I said it that night that I thought the Warriors in the second round got themselves a steal in Draymond Green. If he committed to losing some weight. Which he did, right? He's completely, his body looks different than it did with the Michigan State Spartans when he was there, because I think Draymond Green does, as you've seen here with Golden State, does a lot of things to help you win. And I'm not telling you everything's pretty. I'm not telling you, kicking a guy in the groin is the right thing to do. And that cost him an NBA title. What happened when he got suspended in that series against the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James, that enabled the Cavaliers to come back and win that series. Because if that does not happen, the Warriors are winning that title. Agreed. I firmly believe that. That to my dying grave. That is, they are not winning that championship if Green doesn't get suspended. I look at Draymond Green. I credit Keith because he has put in the necessary work to find himself a position in the NBA where he can thrive and excel, and is completely kind of changed over his body. I'm not telling you that the personality, some of the things that he says is all that great. And I understand that the Warriors can, when teams win and win to that level, you can be annoyed by a lot of the players, regardless of sport, sure. Right? So you're tired of seeing their face. You're tired of seeing it. You're tired of the storyline. You're like, why can't somebody else have a chance? Like we went through it with Jordan and Pippen and the Bulls that won 6 titles over the course of 8 years. So you get tired of all that. And I get it. I just look at Draymond Green. It's kind of, he plays with a chippiness and an edge that I remember the NBA having when I grew up becoming a fan of the association.
I want to go back to the Astros though, because now everyone in the chat is starting to talk about how likable the Warriors are and how unlikable the Astros are, and that's fine. Who's unlikable on the Astros? The first guy everyone's going to say is Altuve, right?
Right.
Who else? I'll wait. No one is unlikable on that team. No, Bregman is not unlikable. Listen to every single interview he does. He is so ridiculously likable. And even the fact that he
not after the cheating scandal he wasn't, when he basically punted.
I don't blame those guys for not wanting to incriminate themselves.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think
Jordan Alvarez is unlikable. No, Jeremy Pena is unlikable. Kyle Tucker is unlikable. Chaz McCormick is unlikable.
Unlikable.
Okay.
That's where I think people look at. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a lot of unlikable.
Dusty Baker's not unlikable.
But Justin Verlander's not unlikable. Yeah, true. I think it's really Altuve.
Sure. And you want to pick one? I gave you one too.
Yeah.
Most people don't like Draymond. Most people do not.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand that I'm in the minority with that. I get it. I like Draymond Green. He doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I love.
I understand Verlander, that I don't get annoyed by Golden State. I guess my point being is, if we're looking at it, the Astros are unlikable because of of an organizational decision at the time to cheat the rest of Major League Baseball. And I'm not telling you that they were the only team doing it. They were not. They were the team that continued to do it after a memo was sent out by the commissioner's office to stop doing it. That's where the Astros were doing it and took it to another level, right? So, mind you, don't ever put your head to the pillow at night thinking the Astros, though, during those years, were the only team that were cheating. They were not. They're not. I guarantee you they were not. There were more than just the Astros that are doing it. The difference, though, is, the commissioner sends out a memo and Houston continued to do it. So, with all of it and the fact that you have guys that Yankee fans will look at and say Altuve ripped Judge off of a MVP in 17. They, a 17 Yankee team that was completely likable. The Yankees should have went to the Fall Classic that year. Other players, the Dodgers in that World Series, right? The Dodgers should have won in 2007. Everything that we've talked about with this Houston team, it stunk from the head down. So I think as an organization, if you look at them and as individually, I don't disagree with you. There are not a lot of unlikable guys on that team. The problem is the brand that they play for has been so besmirched, has been so dirtied by the decisions of individuals and players of the past that it's hard for a lot of people to overcome that.
We've come full circle. That's exactly why this is a great conversation to have. The stain, the stench doesn't go away until some of those players would be gone from that organization. It's still a lot of the main guys that were there when it happened, when the cheating scandal was happening. I personally, and I see Baby J admitted it. He's talking like a Yankees fan, and that's fine. That's like every Mets fan that hates the Yankees.
Right.
And that's why this shirt is amazing.
Great shirt. Shirt game's always on point, Keith.
That's the next thing. By the way, we do have a new sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, and they are fantastic. And we're gonna go through some of the stuff that you get to do with Thrive Fantasy. All right. So first, we have a promo code. If you use Bettor when you sign up today, you're gonna receive 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. You download the app, go to the App Store, Play Store, whatever it is that you get it from. You can even go to the website thrivefantasy.com. You sign up, and as the tagline goes, you prop up. And I'm going to be in a challenge. But I think the next thing is we need to get a T-shirt sponsor for me. I'm ready. I'll rock your T-shirts, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, of course. We need a little merch. That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. We want to thank Thrive Fantasy. Hey, listen, I think it's setting up, and we're going to be talking about the World Series and the Fall Classic. That gets going on Friday. So looking forward to that. The Astros are home. The Phillies coming to town. I mean, it's going to be – I enjoy the World Series. I do. I wish there was more drama in the championship series that it played out. However, listen, it was a fait accompli. I mean, the inevitable was the Astros were going to sweep the Yankees after their Game 3 victory or beat the Yankees after their Game 3 victory. So they ripped the Band-Aid off and ended it in 4, right? So there was little to no drama in that series. I would like to a longer series. We didn't get it. Hopefully it sets up for what is a classic World Series because you have the team that everyone's rooting against outside of the Houston Astros, outside of Houston and the Astros, and then you get the team that seems like they have been graced by the baseball gods, that this is their year in the Philadelphia Phillies.
I think it's fun. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I'm all fired up. I actually get a couple. You know what? I'm getting a couple of days off from MLB. It's weird. You would think now because the World Series, the World Series isn't until Friday. Yeah. So what are you betting on? Nothing. So Bettor's Eye will take a few days off. I think we're back.
So when are you back on Bettor's Eye? What's the
Thursday,
schedule?
I think we're going to be on Thursday. We'll do a whole preview.
So you're off today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Yeah.
Nice. What are you doing with your time off? Going to be working out,
laundry,
some iron.
Well, yeah, I'll of course. Now I can do a real afternoon workout. Now I don't have to rush through the workout. Now, we're going to turn that 45-minute workout.
I kid because I'm jealous. I really am. It's Moose and Keith. Nick,
I got pucks next week. Nick Durst. I got pucks next week. NHL Network. We're back on the NHL grind. The end of next week, and then into the month of November and into December. Yep.
Awesome, fantastic. You're all over the place. A little MLB, a little NHL. Yeah. Away you go. We'll get into a little NBA as the show does roll along. We'll hit upon the NFL game as well. Want to thank Thrive Fantasy. Keith's got a lineup. He's entered one of the contests. We'll get into that a little bit as well. It's Moose and Keith with you on Action-Packed Monday. Congrats to the Astros. Congrats to the Phillies. They're going to the World Series. Hopefully it sets up for an unbelievable Fall Classic.
And we have a giveaway. Don't forget about that. Top of the next hour, we're giving away a DJ Moore signed jersey. The blue jersey is, if I had blue eyes, what color are your eyes, Moose? I don't even know.
Bluish green.
So this jersey would work for you. It'd make
my
your
eyes are a
pop.
little weird. Like if I wear something green, you see the green more in my eyes, and if it's blue, they really pop blue.
Well, you know what? If you want to just quit for about 7 minutes, try to win the jersey.
You want to hear a quick? You want to hear a quick story? So
yes, always.
Okay. So I was up at Syracuse. This was I'm trying to think the year. This was 96, right? There used to be the international hockey competition called the World Cup of Hockey that the United States won, right? They beat Canada in Game 3 up in Montreal. Richter was on the team, like legendary American players. Mike Modano was on the team. Chris Chelios was on the team. Hull was on the team and everything like that. So me and my buddies, we bought tickets to Game 3 in Montreal. We drove from Syracuse to Montreal to go see it, right? And then we took a tour of the old Forum. So we were watching the United States team practice, and there was a puck in the stands that went into the stands. And so I knew exactly where the puck was, right? And so I went up to a very, very attractive young lady who was manning security at that time, like had a barrier up and whatever. And was like, I was like, by the way, can I just go down this hallway? Because I know in the stands right there's a puck that I wanted to grab, right? As a little memento for the trip. And she's like, well, no, despite having the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen in my life, I can't let you do that.
Wow.
That was a nice hit.
You know what the best
in
part
the
about
French Canadian accent, I would tell you that I was like, you know what? The hell with the puck. I don't care.
You know what would have been a good ending to that story? And that was Donna. We got married 8 years later. No.
Donna's not French Canadian. No.
Donna walks by behind you. Wee wee.
That was it. No.
Look at you.
Yes,
look at you. You're blushing. Look at you.
I remember it was a great trip and whatever. And the thing is, I had witnesses because my buddies were standing right next to me as I asked. And they're like, that was amazing.
Amazing.
We'll come fantastic. Back. There you go. Yes. And the United States won Game 3, won the World Cup.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, let's stay here. Actually, we'll stick. Okay. No break. We're gonna run right through. All right. Going back to the Yankees and the Astros series, by the way, and I think that we've touched upon the Phillies and we've touched upon the Astros. I think it's fair to talk about the two teams that fell short, right? Like we didn't really touch upon the Padres that much. How do you kind of view what the Padres ended up being this year? You know, they went all in, got Soto, got Drury, got Bell, got Hader. You mentioned the fact that Hader didn't come in to pitch to the Phillies. What's like and I think it's fair, where, you know, we spent the time on the winners. What's your lasting feeling on the Padres?
I guess what could have been. I mean, when you get that close, I think they're not going anywhere. Like I think San Diego's not going anywhere. I think the fact that they handled the Dodgers the way that they did in the postseason, I think does say a lot as a step forward for San Diego. I credit Preller for their general manager for being. I just credit for Preller for going for it, but I would say when you get to the championship series and you're not able to finish it off and you make glaring managerial decisions, Keith, that potentially cost you from lengthening that series out, that's a tough offseason. Like you added Soto and Hader this year to be difference makers on your team. Then you dealt with the suspension, the drug suspension, PED suspension for Fernando Tatis Jr. You get yourself to an NLCS. You have home field advantage in the National League Championship Series, and you lose in 5 games. Like that's a tough pill to swallow if you're San Diego for a team that's been really aggressive in free agency, that's been really aggressive in trades, that's traded a lot of their top young talent to try and win now, and to be that close and now lose out to a Phillies team that was the last team in the National League. I think it would be kind of a jarring offseason for San Diego. That's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, you know, they went all in. It fell a little bit short, but I also think that there's reasons for hope. I want to switch over to the Yankees. And I don't view this year as a failure for the Yankees. They won 99 games. They had a guy almost win a Triple Crown and hit 62 home runs. And they had a bunch of injuries that really curtailed them many moments of the season. And I know that the lasting view is going to be these stats. Judge, 5 for 36. Stanton, 6 for 32. Torres, 6 for 34. Donaldson, 5 for 29. Cabrera, 2 for 28. Trevino, 1 for 22. All batting averages 188 or lower in the playoffs, not in the ALCS, in the playoffs. But I can't look at 99 wins and say this was a failure. It's just that they went out without a whimper, went out with barely a whimper.
Yeah, I think this year's I think it's a failure. I mean, I do. I mean, Keith, I think that I think the organization probably views it the way that you view it. I think they're going to look at it, and you even heard it last night, some of the rhetoric coming from Boone after the game. We didn't have some key pieces, focusing on LeMahieu and Benintendi. There were guys that, but he was like, well, that happens to everybody. Let's not forget. I mean, the Astros didn't have Michael Brantley, one of the best overall hitters in the American League, in that lineup as well. They're going to view we won the American League East. We won 99 games. Judge is now the American League home run king with 62. We learned a lot this year. Severino's going to be healthy next year. Clay Holmes was an all-star. Jose Trevino was a find. There are things that you figured out about it. But, Keith, I'm kind of more of the mindset of kind of the old school George Steinbrenner. I'm not telling you that there weren't positive stories. Listen, Judge was great. But in the end, you were defined in New York, where you and I in this city, the tri-state area, you're defined by what you do in October. Judge was a disaster.
Agreed.
I mean, he did next to nothing. The team hit 162 as a team in the American League Championship Series, coming off a series against the Cleveland Guardians where they hit 188. Like it's awful. Like it just is. And then to compound the problem, some of the decisions that Boone makes going to Trevino, Lou Trevino, with the bases loaded down 2-0 in Game 3. How is Clay Holmes not the first reliever out of that bullpen? You barely used Domingo Germán. I mean, there was just decisions made by Boone, and really the execution, the way that they handle the lineup all over the place all the time. IKF and shortstop. I mean, the loyalty they had to Josh Donaldson, who is terrible. Like, Josh Donaldson is really bad at baseball. And, the Yankees like to pat themselves on the back. I mean, as of late, they do. I mean, that's really it. I mean, I'd love to tell you, I think if George was alive, I think heads would be rolling. The Yankees got embarrassed by the Astros. They got embarrassed. There's no other way to cut it. I mean, the Yankees embarrassed the Astros. They did. They swept them in 4 games. They danced on their grave last night at Yankee Stadium. They cracked out the brooms. You had Maldonado after the game, after the field saying, you wanted Houston, you got Houston. We swept you.
What if the Astros go ahead and either sweep or win the World Series by 5? Does that change your view at all? Like, maybe just the fact the Astros just clearly are so much better than everybody else?
No,
what if they embarrass the Phillies?
But it really does, because the Yankees measure themselves by the Astros. The Yankees want to tell you they're getting closer to Houston. I get it. I understand, but they're not. I mean, but the Philadelphia Phillies, we opened up the conversation today talking about how stunned are you that the Philadelphia Phillies are in the World Series. So if the bubble bursts on Philadelphia and all of a sudden they go to that team that looked uninspired, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm telling you. All of a sudden momentum happens. They lose 2 straight in Houston, and then all of a sudden Harper's not hitting a home run. Schwarber's not hitting home runs. Hoskins is not hitting home runs. They look lifeless. Their bullpen's getting knocked around, and they end up losing. Would that be all that surprising? Well, I mean, listen, they'll go back to what we always thought about the Houston Astros. I just think that they're getting the chasm between the Yankees and the Astros at one point in time was like this, right? It's like this. Like it is. We are looking at a large distance between the two teams. It is not close, and it's getting farther away.
I didn't think this series was going to be close. I mean, I didn't, right? I said this was going to be 5.
No, you didn't. But I don't think anyone thought they would get swept. Like, that's the thing. I mean, 5 games, everyone was like, oh, they'll win the Cole game. And they didn't win the Cole game.
But they could have won the Cole game. You don't have the Bettor. Honestly, like the coulda, woulda, shouldas, I know. But if Bettor doesn't have the error in the outfield, I think that game could be different.
Keith, they had 1 hit until the 9th inning.
Right, but the Astros had, 2 hits
No, I get it, but
that.
they took advantage of a Yankee mistake, like they did, and then the Astros then all of a sudden and broke that game open when he took Cole out and Cole left with the bases loaded and Trevino comes in the game. I just listen, the Yankees, the messaging is Cashman's contract is up. Boone was rewarded with a contract last offseason, a 2-year deal with an option for a third. The Yankees are going to sell you about progress. Like I mentioned, the analytics department has overwrought a lot of the decision making by Brian Cashman and company. They're going to look at I think the difference now between when George owned the Yankees to when Hal Steinbrenner owns the Yankees is that George's passion was winning. I think the Yankees now look more at the bottom line. Listen, it was a good business year for the Yankees. They made a lot of money, as did a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. When you open up those gates and you have home games throughout the postseason, as a Major League Baseball owner, you make a lot of money. But is the goal to give it the great old college try come October, or trying to give yourself the best opportunity to win? Well, mind you, Keith, I mean, you had concerns. You didn't think this was going to be a long series. I gave the Yankees credit. I thought they'd be maybe a 6-game series. We both had Houston winning it. So It's not surprising the fact that Houston won it. I think the style and fashion in which they did shows you just the great differentiation between the two teams.
Yeah, it's the how. You're right. I
mean, that's it. I mean, it just is. I mean, you have Yankees talking about they're talking about launch angle, the roof being open, and Cole then on over the weekend on telling you the Astros are hitting good pitches. I mean, what are we doing?
How funny! Twitter was pretty funny when Judge fell a little bit short on the long ball. Yankee should have closed the roof. Yankee should have closed the roof.
I know. It's
sometimes
crazy.
Twitter is funny. Sometimes Twitter is funny.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, there's positivity. It's fun, but it comes along with negativity. I'm interested to see if there's any fallout. Like now, it's now as you have a little bit of a break until the World Series gets going on Friday. The messaging coming from Cashman and Boone and company after this season comes to an end, and they've got a big decision to make with Judge.
Do what you got to do. Bring them back. You got to.
I agree with you. I agree. But question is there another owner out there, Keith, that's willing to just basically overwhelm Judge with money? And quite possibly there is.
Stevie Cohen.
Yeah. Or the Giants, who've got nobody on their payroll. Giants are another team. And he's a California kid, or California young man, I should say. Yeah. But so we got the World Series. Well, World Series is set. It's Padres and Phillies. It's Phillies and Astros. We got a lot more to get into. We'll touch upon the Week 7 Sunday that was in the National Football League. We'll do that next. It's Moose and Keith with you on a busy Monday right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Moose and Keith with you. Let's welcome aboard right now Iron Eagle.
One of the great stories that I have from doing notes on a plane, and you always get people looking over. They see color-coded uniform numbers, names, height, weight, age, background, hometown. And I had a woman sitting next to me on a flight, and I'm doing my notes, and she's kind of giving the look, then looking. And I can tell she's looking. And then finally, she'll say, so what is it that you do? Well, what do you think I do? She said, are you a wedding planner? I said, yes. I said, I have to put Rob Gronkowski at Tom Brady's table. I said, you know what? You're not correct, but it's the best answer I've ever heard.
That's great. Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
As far as fantasy life, fantasy executive, it's going to be a football life. The fantasy executive is probably going to be the best football life ever.
We'll be the guest, everyone who was on yesterday, basically.
Yeah, everybody that's on yesterday will be the guest. Scott Ingram, you know what I'm saying? Adam Ronis. Yeah, everybody, those people. Because what Nando, obviously you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the GST and shoot some scenes. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be nice.
We'll shoot some scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Antonio Brown can be on my football life,
That'd
right?
Be nice.
Because that's a big part of my comeuppance as a fantasy analyst. Everybody, the football life, the fantasy executive is going to be for the people. When they do the football life on the fantasy executive, I'm going to be hands on.
Good. Yeah. You talking to you.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Cheetos or Doritos?
I truly love both. Cool Ranch Doritos.
Wow.
I grew up on Cheetos. I was a big Chester Cheetah guy.
Oh, nice.
But Ray, as I have aged into adulthood, I've moved away from the fun that is the Cheeto, and I've gone to the, more cosmopolitan Cool Ranch Dorito chip. So I'm probably a Cool Ranch guy. How about you?
I would go Doritos. I don't like Cool Ranch. The traditional, original, regular, whatever it is really good. But my favorite's actually the sweet chili, the purple bag. Oh, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The one that sucks, and I think we can all agree on this one, taco.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things, and I'm perfect at a lot of things. My Dorito trivia is a little shaky.
Okay.
A little shaky. But I think taco is the first flavor.
Download Thrive Fantasy in the Apple app and Google Play Store, or visit thrivefantasy.com. Prop up with Thrive Fantasy this season.
Moose and Keith with you on this Monday. It is the Bettor Sports Network. Keith, you hear us or no? No, Keith does not hear us. We'll get back to Keith here momentarily. I don't know what's going on with Keith with his setup, but we'll get to him momentarily. We'll look at the National Football League and what happened yesterday, Week 7 Sunday that was in the NFL. And I'll tell you this, living in New York, going through what the Giants have gone through in recent years with Pat Shurmur, with Joe Judge, with Jerry Reese, with Dave Gettleman as one of their executives, to now take over with Joe Shane coming down from the Buffalo Bills being hired as general manager, and then Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills, now being the head coach with the Giants, and having this team now through 7 weeks be a 6-1 football team is pretty jarring. I mean, it is an unbelievable accomplishment for a Giant team that is still in salary cap hell because of the damage that was done by Dave Gettleman. It's not teaming with unbelievable talent. Just look at the wide receiver room and who's there and who is not there. That had major question marks about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, about what they were now as NFL players going into contract seasons, as both are due contracts after the season, whether it be with the Giants or some other organization. It's really a credit and shows you just what coaching matters in the NFL. As people, and I get, listen, talent does reign supreme. You need a big time quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, then that's going to be a massive problem for you to competitively try and win games week in and week out. Your quarterback, it's the most important position in the NFL. And I think you've seen the growth of Daniel Jones this year under the tutelage of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka. I think you have seen that. It's been very, very impressive what Daniel Jones has been playing clean football game, using the ground game. They went into Jacksonville yesterday where a Jaguar team, and Jacksonville put up a lot of yards. The point being is you don't allow them to score points. The Giants win the game 23-17. Once again, they come from behind. They get key turnovers, whether it be the forced fumble by Xavier McKinney and Travis Etienne, who was going in at the 5-yard line. And, he punched it out, recovered by, I believe it was Julian Love in the end zone, whether it be, down 17-13 at the time, 4th and short at the Giants 20-yard line. They stuffed Trevor Lawrence on a quarterback sneak. That was not a call if I were Doug Peterson I'd ever make again with Trevor Lawrence. But the Giants get the ball back and then promptly march down the field on a 10-play, 80-yard drive or 79-yard drive in order to take the lead for good. So the Giants are 6-1, and I'll tell you this, they're live. Like, they are live in the NFC. They're a 6-1 football team, and I'll tell you, they're not as good as the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles who had a bye week this past week. I get that. But tell me exactly who in the NFC, if you're a Giant fan waking up on this Monday morning, or if you are a bettor looking at the futures market on this Monday morning, and you don't want to dabble potentially in the Giants, because there is a great potential with the Giants' schedule as they go on the road to take on the Seattle Seahawks this week, and Geno Smith and Pete Carroll have been an unbelievable storyline this year. But the Green Bay Packers stink. I mean, the window is closed. I mean, the Packers have lost, Now, think about this. The Green Bay Packers have lost 3 consecutive games to the Giants in London, the Jets at home, and lost to Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders yesterday down in Maryland. Think about that if you're Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, that is a brutal loss. You're going to tell me it's the Los Angeles Rams with that offensive line? They're sitting there at 3-3. The Los Angeles Rams are all of a sudden going to do it. What about the San Francisco 49ers? Even though they go out there and acquire Christian McCaffrey, this past week or last week, and Keith and I talked about the impact there fantasy-wise. You tell me it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost back-to-back games on the road, mind you. Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was on the road to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which Kenny Pickett started, gets knocked out with a concussion, and then you had Mitch Trubisky making big throws. They lost yesterday as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite on the road in Carolina against P.J. Walker. Like, that is as bad of a loss as you could possibly have if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if you look at this NFC on the whole, and people want to say, and we had the conversation, and Keith is back with us, we had this conversation about, I would say 2 weeks ago, when the Giants were a 4-1 team, right? When the Giants were that of, people downgrading, the Giants are the worst 4-1 team the NFL's ever seen. The Giants, I'll tell you this, tell me in the NFC outside of the Eagles, and you want to say Dak and the Cowboys sitting there at 5-2, the NFC East is back. Tell me exactly who in the NFC right now scares you, because there's not many. I mean, there really is. I mean, there's maybe 2 other teams, and the other teams reside in the NFC East. And I know it's October and everything can change in December. It's a long NFL season. I get it. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are riding the ship? They look shot. Like, they look awful. I watched a lot of that game yesterday against Carolina. They look terrible. The Green Bay Packers are all of a sudden going to find it. The Los Angeles Rams are all of a sudden, what are they going to convince guys to come out of retirement to play offensive line? They can't run the football, and Stafford doesn't look good throwing the football, Keith. So the Giants are 6-1. And Keith, when we lost, I opened up the conversation saying, if you're looking at futures markets in the NFC, I'll tell you, I would dabble on the Giants because their schedule is very, very easy. Here moving forward. They play a lot of competitive games. They've got an identity. They've got a quarterback, Daniel Jones, that's playing some of his best football that he's played as a professional quarterback. Barkley is an absolute difference maker. If they're able to add, say, a receiver at the NFL trade deadline, I don't even know if that's possible. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be a great asset for this team. I think the Giants at 6-1, who continue to win games where the betting markets have not adjusted. They should never have been an underdog yesterday in Jacksonville. They should not have been.
Well, 6-1 for what? To win the NFC and to be in the Super Bowl?
They are a 6-1 team. I'm talking about that they're a live team to win the NFC. I think there's a potential where the Giants could go on a run here. I really do.
I don't see it.
I really do.
They don't have anybody that can catch. They don't have anybody that can catch a football. No, you're right.
Exactly. Is Tampa beating them?
Minnesota's better than them. Philadelphia is better than them.
Minnesota all of a sudden better than them? You're going to believe in Kirk Cousins in a big game?
But why are we believing in Daniel Jones?
Because Daniel Jones has played great football. Daniel Jones
I've seen Kirk Cousins play great football for 5
games.
But I've seen it for 5 games.
Not in prime time, big pressurized spots. You have not.
But I'm just saying
he never won big games down in Washington. That's why they couldn't stand him.
When has Daniel Jones won a big game?
He hasn't.
Who have they played this year?
I'd be willing to gamble. You're going to take O'Connell as a head coach preparing his team against Minnesota against Daboll and this staff?
I'm just saying the roster for Minnesota is better.
Maybe. Are they better coached?
Probably not. But I don't know. I think the NFC is weak. So yes, and I'm not. This does not. I'm not trying to say that the Giants are a fraud 6-1. They have beat the people in front of them. They win every game by single digits. They don't blow anybody out. I think they're a good, solid football team. But I would not take them to. I would not spend any money at all on a future on them to represent the NFC. Zero chance I would.
I don't think it's zero. I really don't. It depends on what the odds are. I'll take a look at it, but I'd not be all that surprised. Can they beat Seattle on the road next week in Seattle? They can. The Texans at home, the Lions at home, and then they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. At worst, they're going to go 2-2 in those next 4 games. So then you're looking at a team that's 8-3 through the first 11.
Yeah, I don't believe Daniel Jones is going to win.
And you get the Commanders at home. That's a win.
No, I think they're going to have an excellent
9-3.
record.
I mean, they're going to the playoffs. So we'll see
Yeah.
them. I mean, we'll see it on Christmas Eve. They're going to be taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. We'll see that matchup, exactly what's the case. I just think it's everybody and their mother that talked about the Giants and Jones. The whole idea that Daniel Jones can't play is nonsense. Like that as a narrative.
Ran for over 100 yards yesterday. Great athlete.
Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
Yes,
whether it be with the Giants or somebody else, Daniel Jones can play.
I think he's doing enough that he's going to stay with the Giants. I got to see it to believe it. And at this point, I don't necessarily believe it. I am 1,000,000% willing to say that I might end up being wrong by the end of this. I'm saying that. I know how this goes, right? Like, I get it. I'm planting my flag down.
That's fine. We could, I mean, we could agree to disagree. I just don't think the NFC is particularly, there's not a lot there.
I also think that,
I mean, there just isn't. I mean, it really is. When you look at the upper echelon teams, it's, it's the Bills, then it's the Eagles and the Chiefs, and then it's everybody else. I mean, that's it. I mean, maybe the Cowboys are able to make that vaunted jump. Everything, surprising things can happen when you're looking at the playoffs as well. I'm not telling you and putting the flag, as you said, putting the flag in the ground right now and saying, well, the Giants are definitely winning the NFC. I'm just telling you as a long shot, given the fact of what their schedule is, given the fact that right now the Giants have to make the playoffs. Like after a 6-1 start, if you don't make the playoffs, it would be a massive disaster. So they went from a year in which there was little to no expectations coming into the season to now where there are expectations here moving forward. Like you have to make the playoffs now, as long as, you have some of your guys playing healthy. Daniel Jones is playing, quarterback right now outside of Wan'Dale Robinson with you and me playing wide receiver right now.
Exactly.
I mean, that's it. Where guys are dropping footballs like you saw yesterday with Johnson in the end zone, where you finally saw some frustration by Daniel Jones. I don't know. There's nobody good. Like, are the Packers going to find it this year, Keith? Yes.
All right. So here we go. No.
I mean, are the Packers
they're not.
Find it? Or
They're not.
Is Tampa going to find it?
I think they might make some trade moves. So I'm not ready to write them off yet. I'm not.
They better do something. They better
the Tom Brady
the will.
Yeah, but the Tom Brady is dead narrative, I don't love. Like if you really look at and I know that. Listen, if what's his name? If Mike Davis catches, not Mike Davis. Thank you. Mike Evans catches that touchdown yesterday. That game is different, right? I mean, wide open. He dropped it in. He should have caught it. The narrative on Brady is that he's dead, right? Brady is 16th in football in touchdowns, 6th in passing yards, 9th in completion percentage, only has 1 interception, and he's middle of the pack in QBR, and he's 45 years old. He's not dead.
I'm not saying, but the results are the results. They've been shut out twice this year in the first half.
Yeah.
They got shut out yesterday.
Right now, they're not a good
Yesterday was as bad of a regular season loss as I have seen from a team that had, think about this. I mean, a month ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the betting favorite in the NFC to win the NFC. I mean, and I understand that has a lot to do with what they have lost. As I mentioned, Keith, they've lost back-to-back weeks as a double-digit favorite on the road. 10 or more points.
Still the favorite in the NFC South, minus 275.
Well, right, because the NFC South is terrible. Yeah. I mean, it's an awful division. But if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, what would lead you to believe that they're all of a sudden going to find? They can't run it.
Yeah,
like they cannot run the football. Yeah. Like, and if you can't run the football, all of a sudden your offensive line can't block. Brady doesn't have the time, nor is he willing to take the time and take a big hit to make throws down the football field. He's looking to try and get rid of the football as best as he can. I don't know if Tampa, I'm not telling you, listen, this is not Max Kellerman going out there 8 years ago and saying it's over for Tom Brady.
No, I know. I know you're
willing
not
to do
doing
that.
I know
Brady.
you're not doing
I have a healthy respect for what Tom Brady is as an NFL quarterback, right? And I've always been one that has rooted for Brady. I'm just telling you, it looks awful.
Doesn't look great.
You watch a Tampa Bay Buccaneer game right now, it is awful to watch. It is tough to watch.
So what future do you like here? I'm on BetMGM right now. I'm going to give you some numbers. NFC East winner. Eagles are clearly the favorite, minus 350. Cowboys at plus 450. You like Giants at 7-1 to win the NFC East?
I would take the Giants at 7-1 as a dabble. Like I would
hate that one, actually. I don't.
Yeah, I would take the Giants at 7-1.
because they kind of played the harder part of their schedule. The schedule does get a little bit easier. The Eagles are going to run into some teams. Eagles will lose games. They're not going to go 17-0.
Right. They're not going to go undefeated. The question is that when you look at the Dallas Cowboys and say it, and listen, I'm not telling you I'm guaranteeing it. I just think the Giants, there are things to like when you watch this Giant team, but I would dabble with the Giants at 7-1. What are they to win the NFC?
18-1 odds to win the NFC.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a good future. You know what? Honestly, I will step it back.
I mean,
that's a good number.
At 18-1, you're going to give me the Giants? I'm not telling you I'm putting 10 units on it, but would I dabble at 18-1, put $50 on it? I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, that to me is a bet where you take a shot.
That was great. Yeah, that was great. That little laugh, like, yeah. I mean, you know what though? Like, because I thought you said it was 6-1 odds, and that's why I did double check. You said they're 6-1.
I'm sorry, 6-1.
Yeah, 18-1. I throw them in my portfolio. 100% they get in my portfolio because the NFC is weak enough where if they get the right draw, I don't believe in Jones. I could have egg on my face there. Eagles are 2-1, Niners 7-1, Cowboys 6-1, Vikings plus 650, Bucks are still 8-1, Rams are 9-1. Packers 13-1. Those are the only teams are shorter odds than the Giants.
Yeah, I would never bet the Packers.
No, they look broken.
Yeah, they look.
I'm not saying that Father Time, and someone just wrote in there about Father Time was a baby J. Yeah. Father Time is not caught up to Brady and Rodgers. I don't actually believe that. I think the Rodgers can still play football, and I think Brady can still play football. I think that the Packers as a team is really poorly constructed. And it's like every year when everyone says that the Packers don't have wide receivers, they still always had one. This year, they don't have any wide receivers. Like Allen Lazard is not that dude. He's just not.
No, he is not that caliber of receiver. They severely missed Davante Adams and what he missed. And listen, he wanted out. Maybe it could have been a case where you tell him we're not trading you, but for a team that's in a win now window with Aaron Rodgers to then trade Davante Adams to the Raiders and then expect him to develop as cranky and surly as Aaron Rodgers can be to work on and develop, these younger players.
Such a good word.
I mean, he just is. I mean, you just look at him. He looks so bothered like every day. Like imagine just waking up and you're just bothered like every day. Like you look outside and you wake up and you're like, man, what a beautiful day. And that person's like, man, look at that cloud. It would be great if that cloud just kind of moved out of the way. Then it would be. Want to thank our new sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, to the Moose and Keith Show, and also to the Bettor Sports Network. They are fantastic. Use promo code Bettor, BETTOR, when you sign up today, and you'll receive 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store, or by visiting their website www.thrive. THRIVE fantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today.
I love it. The tagline, by the way, drew me in when Deutsch told us about Thrive Fantasy, and I knew a little bit about them, did a little bit more research on them. Prop up is awesome. It's so simple. I was messing with it all weekend long. I put in a few lineups, got one that we're going to talk about in hour number 2. It's just really, really simple. And the names are there. The contests are there. You just click a button. You get a point total for it. And when the contest is over, they divvy up the money based on how many points you made. It's pretty cool.
Keith entered the contest. We'll get into his entry here in a little bit. All right, let's do our giveaway. And
the one that would pop with your eyes, man. Pop with your eyes.
That's it. Exactly right. I have beautiful eyes.
You do have beautiful eyes.
That's a beautiful jersey. DJ Moore, number 2 down in Carolina. It's signed right on the bottom, right in the middle there. Beautiful. We're giving this away right now. It's a DJ Moore autographed Carolina Panthers jersey. What do you need to do? Download the Bettor Sports Network app, register for free, be listening as you are right now. It's courtesy of getinthegame.com and Bettor Sports Network. No purchase necessary. Must be 18 years of age or older. Winners within the last 90 days are not eligible. But if you have won within the last 90 days, say you are in our chat session, say you're Baby J. right? Who has won, right? And
Nobody wants to be Baby J.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Well, say you are Baby J. Well,
I
then
got him.
you let your buddies know that this is the spot for great fantasy talk, handicapping talk, very good sports talk, great conversation, the Bettor Sports Network, and have them download the app and register for an opportunity to win. Share the wealth. Tell your friends. But we're giving away that DJ Moore jersey where the contest starts right now. All you need to do is hit the fun button on the Bettor Sports Network app for your opportunity to win that DJ Moore autographed Carolina Panthers jersey. A winner will be picked at random.
I love it. I'm in on the DJ Moore jersey. DJ Moore had a good week this week with PJ Walker at the helm. DJ Moore is very talented. And from a fantasy standpoint, I think that we will see him rise up a bit. How about them Panthers, by the way? I know we talked about the Bucs a lot. The Panthers are, they're a game like plucky squad. Plucky is the word I would use for them. Plucky.
Yeah,
I don't think we use plucky enough.
Yeah, I guess so. It's to me, it's like it's always you look at how an upset happens, right? There wasn't much that Carolina went into that game believing in. Their best overall player, McCaffrey, was traded to the San Francisco 49ers. Like that's a team where, there were reports that, the team offered them 2 first-round picks for Ben Burns, right? They're one of their big edge rushers, and they had turned that down. It's a Carolina team that's clearly going to be looking for new leadership, probably top down after this offseason, and their owner down there in Carolina. So you kind of look at how an upset does happen, and Keith, like that team needs to hang around and give them a reason to believe. And I think the Evans drop, the fact that Tampa didn't jump out on top of them early, the longer that game went scoreless, the more Carolina started to believe. If Tampa jumps out early in that game, Evans catches that touchdown and say they're leading that game 10-0 after the opening quarter, I don't think there's much pushback from the Carolina Panthers. The fact that they hung around the way that they did and caught a couple breaks early on, and then all of a sudden Tampa had a hard time finding it. Carolina started to play inspired. There was nobody in the building whatsoever. And they said, you know what? We can actually go out there and do that. And they embarrassed the Buccaneers. They did. I mean, it was unbelievable performance. Give them, you want to say they're, pesky, plucky, however way you want to describe it. That's how that upset happened yesterday, which was one of the more surprising ones because I knew a lot of people that just had, they needed Tampa to win the game. In parlays, or it teased Tampa down, from that number of 13, and we're looking for Tampa just to kind of win that game, and they couldn't even keep that game close to the point where Todd Bowles down 14-0 is kicking a field goal with about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when they have 4th and goal at the Carolina Panthers 9-yard line. It's like a comedy of errors. Like you watch it, you're like that's just bad coaching 101. It's just terrible coaching. What are you doing?
Who's Todd Bowles going to be the DC for next year? Because
I don't know. They miss Arians. They miss Arians. It was brought.
They're going to need a fall guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for Bowles. I think he's a good guy. I think it's a very, very tough spot because I do think Brady's trying to tiptoe the retirement. I still want to play kind of angle this year. I don't get the sense that Brady's all in committed like he has been in previous years. After all, on a Friday night, he was at his former owner's wedding in New York City before they played a game in Pittsburgh.
Look at his face. Honestly, he looks like a man that's going through the ringer right now with things in his private life. That is 100% what Tom Brady looks like. I'm not trying to dive into his. I know he doesn't. Something. I think all of us at some point in our lives have been through, whether it's depressing moments and things that go on outside of your work life.
Yes.
And I think that's what it looks like for him right now. And I think it becomes a really difficult thing to stay composed. So who was more impressive to you? Because I do have an answer on this one. Mahomes and the Chiefs against the Niners, or the Bengals against a not good Falcons team, but Joe Burrow putting up almost 500 passing yards?
I would say the Bengals because I think Burrow's back.
Yeah. I'm glad we're lockstep. We're right here. So the fact that Joe Burrow, and I did this on Tops yesterday, we did this segment we called the Fantasy Jukebox, where Jeff Ratcliffe and I pick a song or a lyric and then put it to a singular player.
Nice.
So I had Joe Burrow and Saquon Barkley were my 2 guys. Joe Burrow was Mama Said Knock You Out, right? And the reason I did the LL Cool J song was don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Do you remember after 2 weeks of this season where people were starting to talk about the Bengals, a flash in the pan? Burrow, I'm not even sure I'm starting him in fantasy football. You're all wrong. Threw for 300 last week, 3 touchdowns. This week goes for another 4 total touchdowns, almost 500 passing yards. And you're trying to knock him out. You can't. The Bengals are for real. He's for real. Now, the defense does have some warts. Offensive line still isn't perfect. Mixon still hasn't been mixing yet. But I really like the Cincinnati team, and I love Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think and it's fun to watch him and Chase work on offense. T. Higgins, it's him and Chase when they're connecting, and maybe that 60-yard touchdown last week against the New Orleans Saints, jump started, a team that maybe had a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover to begin the season. But Keith, he threw for 345 yards in the first half. And the Falcons were missing guys in that secondary. AJ Terrell was not 100% healthy, but I mean, that is embarrassing. A Falcon team that at that point in time was undefeated against the spread this year. Yeah. So if you were a Falcon backer, yesterday was the day you finally lost. They were a great run. They were 6-0 against the spread to begin the season. Kind of an anomaly. I mean, one of those games was a ridiculous comeback where they were getting throttled by the Los Angeles Rams, and they came back in the fourth quarter to cover the spread. But still, great. And Burrow was amazing. Listen, I'm never surprised, Anthony. I'm never surprised by what Mahomes does. That's the thing. You look at it, and there's issues in San Francisco that I don't know if McCaffrey's going to be able to rectify. 49ers are still all banged up defensively, and the Chiefs and Mahomes are now doing it without Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster, who a lot of people were willing to kind of turn the page on after the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at what Juju Smith-Schuster is now doing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
7 catches, 124 yards for Juju, 3 catches, 111 yards for MVS, and then Kelsey goes for 6 and 98. And they've got a running duo now. They switch Pacheco to the starter, which really doesn't matter. I mean, who cares who starts? But I think Pacheco is going to be for real. Edwards-Helaire gets a touchdown yesterday. This Chiefs team is not afraid of anyone. Mahomes can make every single throw in the book and outside of the book. I absolutely love it. And
Pacheco's going to be a guy just kind of because he's a former Scarlet Knight player. And I watched Isaiah a lot down at Piscataway, and he was drafted late in the draft by Kansas City. It's not all that surprising, by the way, that he has risen up the depth chart in Kansas City. He's a very, very violent runner. Yeah. And I mean that in every good way possible. He's a very physical running back. He is going to be a guy that fantasy-wise, and I know they get cutesy right around the goal line, but he is going to be a guy that, despite his size, and he is not 6'3", 6'4", he's not Derrick Henry running the football. He finishes off runs very, very strong, and he's very compact. He's a strong runner, and he is going to be a guy that at the goal line is going to be a weapon for the Kansas City Chiefs. So not all that surprising, Keith, that he has risen, had a great training camp. Was happy for him that he was getting the start yesterday. Like you mentioned, it doesn't really mean anything for us on the outside world, but for him, I mean, you're starting for a team, you get drafted late in the draft out of Rutgers, and all of a sudden, by week 7, you're announced as a starting running back in Kansas City. That's pretty cool. Great accomplishment for Isaiah Pacheco.
Pacheco is one of my number 1 stash plays, so we love that. The Chiefs, by the way, are now minus 410 to win the AFC West. It's the most they've been favored to win the division all season long. Obviously, coming into the year, they were considered the favorites, but a lot of people like the Chargers. A lot of people like the Broncos. That goes down the well. And a lot of people like the Raiders. 3 weeks ago, Moose, the Chiefs were minus 105 to win this division. So you missed your opportunity, everybody, on that future.
That was it. 3 weeks ago, they were minus 105. And what are they today?
Minus 410.
Minus 410. By the way, where are all the people out there that were, and I feel bad, Baby J, that the Chargers yesterday blew your parlay.
Yeah, it's rough.
That's a tough one. Where are all the people that were running around talking about how this was going to be the year for the Los Angeles Chargers? Remember the conversation we had? And I don't really, I said, how can I back a Charger team that always finds new and interesting ways to lose games? The Chargers always get banged up.
You nailed it.
Get hurt. And they always find new and interesting. I mean, that is a terrible loss to Seattle yesterday. And the Seahawks, they didn't do it by smoke and mirrors. The Seahawks lined up and kicked the rear end
of the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday. Like, they beat them up. Like, give Carroll and company a ton of credit. I mean, that is a Charger team through the first 7 weeks here, kind of fraudulent.
I think, and I want to go to the Seahawks here. Yeah, by the way, the Chargers, yes, they're frauds right now. But the Seahawks, this is the best coaching job that Carroll has ever done.
No doubt.
Like, to resurrect Geno Smith. It's never been a talent thing for Geno. Like, we always knew he could throw the football. He can run the football. It just never clicked. But Metcalf and Lockett are not missing Russ. The running, and Kenneth Walker looked like the best running back in the NFL yesterday.
He's great.
Right?
He's great at Michigan State. He was a second round pick. What did he have? He had the hernia during training camp, right? He had hernia.
So it slowed him down. Yep.
Which slowed him down. But look at him yesterday. Kenneth Walker, he was a big play. He was a big play player at Michigan State. Look at him. He was unbelievable. That long touchdown run down the right sideline was a thing of beauty.
168 rushing yards, a pair of touchdowns for Kenneth Walker. The rookie running backs that I don't know if you when I dropped out for a second, did you touch on the Jets? Breece Hall, like, it really stinks.
I did not. No, yeah. I talked about the Giants.
Yeah, so the Giant. Yeah, I mean, the Jets thing, and we'll find out for real probably later today, like, what the severity of the injury is.
Yeah, they believe it's a torn ACL.
Yeah.
The early now they also thought at one point in time Zach when Zach Wilson went down August the 12th against the Eagles' first preseason game, the initial test of his knee by doctors before he went into for imaging the very next day was that it was a torn ACL. It ended up not being it. So for Breece Hall, you hope it's not, but all indications from those around the Jets and the reports out of the Jets was that they believe that they fear the worst, that he tore his ACL.
Yeah, it's a shame. And where I was going with this is the rookie running back class is awesome. Like, the kid Algier from Atlanta is really good. Walker's been excellent. Obviously, Breece has been excellent this year. I know now the next question, all Jets fans, and we got it in our chat right now, is like, should the Jets go out and trade for Cam Akers? I'd actually go for James Robinson. If I was going to pick Akers or Robinson, I think Robinson would fit in a little bit better.
Let me ask you this. I'll give credit. Rich Samini tweeted out this morning. Would you call the Browns about Kareem Hunt?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they would part with him, but they're 2-5 right now. Oh,
free
yeah.
Agent after the season, wants to get paid after this year. Browns aren't going anywhere this season. Would you call that would be an interesting one, going to get Kareem Hunt? Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Jets, you're a 5-2 team. You've won 4 straight. You're winning in spite of the fact of, Zach Wilson not having great impact. When you look at the defense and being able to run the football, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'd be willing to see exactly what else is out there to try and improve that running back room. I do like Michael Carter. I just don't know if Michael Carter is good enough to be that kind of a running back.
I'm not sure he's ready for the lead role like that. I agree with you. Yep, I agree.
But yeah, I would look at. I would look at those options if I were the Jets. It's a shame for Hall because he's a stud, and now it's the impact of, because it costs you like 2 years,
right? Because
not only is he going to be out this year, then you're really never the same. And listen, Keith and I know Keith's a better athlete than I am, and works out on a day in, day out basis. But when you're looking at NFL players, they often tell you, especially at skill position, you never have complete confidence in that knee until you're 2 years removed. Just look at what Saquon Barkley looks like. Like, not everyone's Adrian Peterson. Like, that is just, he's like Wolverine.
Yeah, he's the anomaly
at healers, right? He just is. So you feel bad for Breece Hall if it ends up being a torn ACL and all the thoughts, the initial diagnosis is correct, Keith, that, it's going to cost him a while here to where he gets back on the field and being the player that really, electrified the National Football League the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's been really good. How excited are you for Monday Night Football tonight?
Listen, it's gonna be on.
You're gonna watch. I'm gonna watch. Of course, I know.
There's nothing. What else am I gonna be watching? There's nothing else on. But
I still got to catch up on House of Dragon from last night, the finale apparently. And if anyone in our chat says anything that happened in House of Dragon, I will have you blocked from our network. Don't do that.
Yes.
Don't. I'm hoping to watch that either this afternoon or tonight. Do not ruin the final episode, okay?
Yeah, don't do that for Keith. I hate that when that happens. Don't do that. I have not watched. I'm so far behind.
You haven't done the season yet, right?
No, I have not.
Okay. Excellent season.
Is it great?
I would say a step below great.
Is it similar to Game of Thrones?
Yes, yeah. All the Game of Thrones feels that you would ever want. You're finding out a little bit more of the genesis of where like the Targaryen family kind of came from, like how that became a thing.
Yeah.
You have certain characters in there that you're like, well, that person, it seems like they're actually a good person. And then, nope, evil. Yep, evil. Yep, evil. Nope, not good. Like,
I gotta check it out. I gotta watch it. Now I have time. The Yankees got eliminated, so now I've got plenty of time.
Yeah, you got time.
It's gonna lighten the load a little bit. Congratulations to Sweet Lou. He was listening top of the 11 o'clock hour, as was everybody else. You know what he wins? Pop it up, boys. He wins the DJ Moore autographed Carolina Panthers jersey. It's an absolute thing of beauty. Gotta love that. That'll look great in the house, man cave, apartment, wherever you might be. It's courtesy of gettingthegame.com, Better Sports Network. Had to be 18 years of age or older. Couldn't have won within the last 90 days. So congratulations, Sweet Lou. You've got yourself a brand spanking new DJ Moore autographed, authentic Carolina Panthers jersey. That's beautiful.
Very cool.
That is
very cool. Go get it.
Monday night game tonight, Patriots and Bears, New England home. They're laying a big number, 8.5, and the total is 40.5, Keith.
I like the under here. So primetime unders, I saw this number, 14-7 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of
40.5, minus 110. You can get it on BetMGM, DraftKings. I get a few plays there, like from a prop standpoint that I like, and then we can get into Thrive Fantasy and the challenge that I did. But I do like Justin Fields over 42.5 rushing yards on FanDuel, minus 113, 47 or more rushing yards in 4 consecutive games. Patriots have struggled against the run. I like Ramondre Stevenson over 61.5 rushing yards, minus 106 on Caesars, even with Damian Harris likely to be back in the lineup. Still has 66 or more rushing yards in 4 consecutive starts. So I think you still can get the 14 to 16 carries for Stevenson and nail it.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are. I can't make an argument to take the Chicago Bears. Like Keith mentioned, he likes the under 40.5, right? That's where it stands right now. He gave you some player props. We'll get into the Thrive Fantasy stuff here in just a second. To me, I think it's the Patriots or bust. Like I can't sit here and tell you, go take Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears night game in New England against that defense and believe that's going to happen and that they're going to cover 8.5. I think I agree with Keith. I don't think you're going to get a lot of points. Like, I think it's going to be one of those where you're going to get a lot of punts. I think it's going to be a lot of field position. I don't think the Patriots fear what the Bears are going to do. I think the Patriots go into it saying to themselves, as long as we don't beat themselves, as we play a clean game, that we're going to walk off this field victorious, whether it be 9-3, 10-3, 13, whatever it might be, they're going to be victorious. I can't make an argument for the Bears. I don't think they're going to score a lot tonight. I'd only take the Patriots. I don't love the game. I agree with Keith. The one thing I would take, though, I would take the under 40.5 for everything that Keith just mentioned, having tendency to go under in these games. And you're getting 2 offenses where unless it gets crazy with turnovers from Chicago, which could happen, which turns into defensive and special teams touchdowns, then maybe this score gets out of whack. But I think it's going to be a very, very low-scoring, tight-to-the-vest game when you look at the Pats, and they're looking to try and eke out a win, which I think they will.
Yep. Are you ready for the Monday Night Football challenge that I entered?
Yeah, let's hear it. I'm excited.
All right, so prop up, right? Thrive Fantasy. We welcome you to our family, to the Better Sports Network family, and to Moose and Keith. You're our sponsor, and we love you guys out there. Going to be talking to someone from Thrive Fantasy tomorrow on the program. So I decided the first legit challenge that I entered. And again, I told you I was messing around with the props a little bit all weekend long. It's the $20 Monday Night Football challenge. Prize pool is upwards of $25,000. What you're allowed to do here is you pick, there's 20 props listed, you pick 10, and they give you point totals for each one, right? So obviously it's something that's more likely to happen, then it's somewhere between 75 and like 95 points. Something a little bit less likely to happen, you get over the 100 the points there. So here's my list And we'll go each one. You tell me yes, no, you like it. Okay.
Okay, let me hear.
Devontae Parker. I'm going to give you a reason, by the way. Devontae Parker over 27.5 receiving yards. He does have 64 or more receiving yards 2 of his last 3 games.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
That gets me 95 points. So it's not a big point getter, but not bad. This one I went back and forth on, but I think I'll go with it anyway. Ramondre Stevenson over 88.5 receiving and rushing yards will get me 105 points, and he's topped this number in 4 consecutive games.
I know it could be kind of throwing darts up against the wall sometimes with the Pats in the backfield, but I do like that about Stevenson. Yes, I'm with you.
Let me give you a few Bears plays. How about Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches gets me 100 points, and he's had 3 catches or more in 2 of his last 3 games.
Yeah, I don't love that one. That one's iffy to me. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I could see him having 2 catches. I could also see Cole Kmet having little to no impact on the game tonight. That would be that's the first one I don't know if I love, but I think you're on board. That's a little bit of, and it's gambling for a reason, but It's a little bit of a gamble, right?
Darnell Mooney, over 51.5 receiving yards gets me 100 points, and he's had 52 or more receiving yards in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, I like that. Number 1 guy for Fields. Yes, I do like that. Speed, kind of making a big play down the field for sure.
Give you another one, not a big point getter, 75 points. Darnell Mooney to get 3 catches in the game, something that he has done 4 or more in 2 of the last 3.
I like that.
Right? Goes together, right?
Yes. I like that correlation.
2 Jacoby Myers plays. We're going to go over 50.5 receiving yards. Only gets me 90 points, but he's got 55 or more receiving yards in all 4 games that he has played in this year.
Yeah.
And he's got his guy back.
Receptions.
Yep. Would be 5 catches, which would get us to 110 points. Now, this is where Thrive Fantasy did a really good job, because if this was 3.5 and was giving me 95 points, that's a hammer, right? But 4.5 catches, not something he always does. He's only done it twice this year.
Yeah, I could. Right, 3.5. I think Myers gets you to 5 receptions tonight.
And that's that's a big point getter then for 110 points.
Yes, I like that.
You know, I like the Justin Fields rushing number. What if we pair it together with his passing numbers, which is at 216.5, and he's done this in 3 consecutive games.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. If you told me it was just passing at 216.5, I would have been like, take that one out.
They didn't actually give that one. They pulled it off. Yeah. How about this one? 110 points, another big point getter. Justin Fields to get 14 completions or more, which he's done in back-to-back games. You don't love it.
I don't love that.
110 points. That's why.
I know. I understand. It's a bigger risk. I don't know if I love over 14 receptions. 14 completions in the game. I don't know if I love that.
How about a weird one? Nick Folk under 9.5 points scored only gets me 75 points, and he's got 9 or less points in 5 of the 6 games played this year.
Yeah, well, I like that. I like the Folk under 9.5 points. If you think that the Pats are maybe going to punch it in, find the end zone more than they attempt field goals where they're able to finish off drives, I like that under 9.5 points.
And then what Thrive Fantasy does, which I think is really cool, they have you pick 2 what they call ICE players in case of emergency. So if one of these players suddenly is booted or like not booted, doesn't suit up tonight, 2 props can pop in for any of those. So again, these are not my favorite ones, but Equinemius St. Brown under a touchdown, doesn't score a touchdown, which he's only scored 1 touchdown this year.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good one.
Low value, 65 points.
Yeah.
Again, just whatever. And then also on here, Mac Jones to get 233 passing yards or more, which, I mean, he's at actually 252 or more passing yards in his 2 healthy games. That gets you 100 points.
I like the Mac. I like your 2 ICE picks. I do like those. I mean, I know you're the only 2 I didn't and listen, they're the 2 I didn't love with Kmet and Fields completions.
And those are my big point getters, though. That gets me 100, 110. So that's where,
right. Those are the
I knew I needed to take a little bit of risk here, because if you go like crazy chalky, I don't know how I'm going to beat other people in this contest.
Yeah, that is Thrive Fantasies. I want to hear exactly. I want to follow along tonight. I got my login, got my username. I want to see exactly how you do. That is, make sure to use promo code BETTOR, BETTOR, when you sign up, and you'll receive 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store, Play Store, or by visiting their website, www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today.
First prize is $5,000.
That's great.
That's awesome.
We're going to be joined by Dave Sharapan. He's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick time out, but want to remind everybody that we're giving away more cool prizes on the Bettor Sports Network. You can win an authentic Dallas Cowboys Alvin Harper signed jersey or an authentic San Francisco 49ers John Taylor signed jersey. Help us determine which NFL franchise is better, Dallas or San Francisco. Show us your fandom in a tweet using the hashtag Corey's Cowboys or Henry's 49ers and tag @Bettor Network on Twitter. We'll select the passionate fans from both sides and announce the winners on today's edition of Corey, Nando, and Friends at 3 p.m. Eastern time later on today on Bettor Sports Network. That's pretty cool as well.
Love it.
Dave Sharapan will join us next. It's Moose and Keith with you on a Monday. Keith's going to be making some money tonight on Thrive Fantasy. He is all excited. Look at him.
We going Sizzler. We going Sizzler.
Sharapan joins us next live from Vegas. We'll do that next. Moose and Keith with you, Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
First rule of negotiating, you got to have something to bargain with.
I feel like when it comes to trading in fantasy sports, there's too much emphasis and focus on getting the best player in the deal. It does not work like that. If you could get a player that secures you some depth, fills a hole, then you win. More than one person in a trade can win. But people just obsess, and then bad offers come where it's totally stacked. Like those crappy offers, Ron, where yeah, you're getting the best player in the deal, but you're offering 5 other fringe players, thinking that combined they make up for that. Who deals with that crap? I see those trades, Rowan, and when I'm seeing a 3-for-1, 4-for-1, 4-for-2, you know that you're getting someone's leftovers at this point for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, usually they're trying to give you a bunch of players to make it seem like they're giving you surplus and quantity instead of quality. So, got to be careful with that. You know, you could technically lose a deal on paper, but it helps your team improve. And that's always what you're trying to do. Everyone's looking to tell everyone, oh, look what I did. I ripped this guy off. It's about improving your team. You know, if you have two really good quarterbacks, it's hard to trade a quarterback. Now, what I would do is if I somehow made a foolish mistake of drafting 2 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds, or even the first 7 rounds, what I've seen many people do, and they're 2 good ones, is I look and be like, okay, does the Dak Prescott manager have a backup?Maybe he doesn't. Then I do all I can to trade. Now, you're probably not going to get proper return because if that guy with Prescott is smart, he'd be like, well, why am I going to trade a receiver or running back? I can just go to the waiver wire, pick up Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, whoever it is. So that's the reason why that's a situation where you might lose the deal, but you're holding on to a guy that you can't really start most weeks. So you might as well make the deal. So you technically might be losing, thinking like, wow, I'm trading a QB1, but it's not doing much good for you on the bench. And if you're like, well, I'm just keeping this guy in case Josh Allen gets hurt, well, you're playing scared, and that's not a way to win.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Moose and Keith is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. Prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season.
Oh, check it out.
Come on, Moose. This is an easy one.
That was no, I know that name. That was that's what's
Notorious B.I.G. It's not small.
Yeah,
it's not small.
Notorious B.I.G.
Puff Daddy. Biggie Smalls,
yes,
Junior Mafia, represent baby.
I got to do a better job with that. I was just caught off guard. I was mesmerized by Dave's outfit today. That's what I was.
Well, hold on. Who wins, Dave? What do you think?
You mad, bro? Look at that. That's not bad,
right? Isn't that a good one?
Man, he's working. The boy's working. Even on the island. This is good. I'm impressed.
Did you say even on the island? Is that what you just said? Even on the island?
Even on the island. Yeah.
Dave, what's the likelihood of you flying out to Philly and going to, game 3, game 4, something like that?
I mean, are you in my house right now? How do you know what I'm doing? It's just a little bit alarming. I'm looking at flights. I don't know if you've heard, but Penn State plays at home on Saturday
Yeah.
against Ohio State.
Yeah, sort of a big game. Yeah.
Sort of a big game. The Steelers play the Eagles on Sunday in Philadelphia. And then the World Series games 3 and 4 would be on Monday and Tuesday. I'm trying to see if might find my way out there a little bit. And I'm hoping look over my shoulder.
You're good.
I'm hoping the divorce lawyer papers don't come with it. She's
No,
she's like, "You're going where?" I'm like, well, listen, it's a big.
Would you like me to talk to Jess for you?
Maybe. I'd stay on call. You might have to.
I'm ready. If you need me to talk to Jess for you, I will.
Thank you.
I'm very persuasive.
You are. You did it once. That's why we're here every week with you and Moose.
Moose, what do you think? Is there any chance that we can talk Deutsch into sending us down to Philly to do the show live in the morning? I mean, I know it's a morning show. It's not exactly, whatever. Any chance that we get down there?
Probably no.
What? Not the way you're
Come on, Moose.
Respond.
What are you making the number? No minus like 500, or we like no minus 180? Like the
probably
series
no
price of the Astros.
minus like 10,000.
Oh,
I'm joking.
Wow.
I mean, could we? Where would we broadcast from? Chicky and Pete's.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, but that's a very good idea, and we have
Look
a
at
good
you.
lunch. That's see. I mean, it's not like you don't.
We like
know,
food.
right?
Oh, of course. I love food. I know.
Food and
Bust
betting
my
works
chops about
together.
it all the time. I know.
Speaking of food,
And then Dave will be there, and Dave will just hang out with us.
Speaking of food, I'm trying to get in touch with Paul and Judy. Mark, I mean, this guy's been elusive. He's taking helicopter trips over to Grand Canyon. He's doing all this stuff. This guy's living it up.
My dad's been to the Grand Canyon. He's been to 2 national parks. What are the 2 that are close there? He was waking up at like 5:30 in the morning.
Valley of Fire, I think, was one.
Yes,
of them.
yes.
Going out to the Valley.
Yes,
Like,
he's been all over the place.
He's living it up, and meanwhile, Judy almost took the whole thing down.
Judy
She
finished
almost won the
30th.
Mahjong tournament.
She finished in 30th.
She finished 30th out of 180.
Out of 180.
Wow.
Yes.
She
Judy
had
had
a run.
money.
Judy had a very good run in the Mahjong tournament. Very good run.
This is
It
crazy.
was I know. I feel bad, Dave. My dad feels bad. I know you guys have been texting back and forth. And
I text him. I said I'm 15 or 20 minutes away. Just tell me when you get 15 or 20 minutes or later in the day, and I'll come down and say hello and hang out. And because I got the morning shows.
Yeah, you're all
I got
over
a
the
break
place.
during the day, and then I got 4 to 7. But after 7, I told the kids, listen, Paul and Judy are in town, and I'm going to have to go meet them at some point. And my kids and wife were like, "Who's Paul and Judy?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I do the show with Ki and Moose, and that's Moose's dad and mom and they're like, how do you know these people? I said, I don't. That's the best part about it. I don't know Paul and Judy, but I want to go hang out with them. I got places to take them to dinner and all this stuff. So hopefully we'll hook up today.
Yes.
The plan is
good.
The
That'd
plan
be
is
great.
today. You'll
That's
get a
nice.
picture of us, hopefully in a sports book.
Nice.
Post
Beautiful.
This Monday night game. We'll see.
Oh, can I get in? The big boss of the network in the chat just wrote, "Love Chicky and Pete's, great spot for a broadcast." Dave, what does the line movement go to?
Oh, wow.
When the big boss writes in the chat that everyone can see, it's not the private chat. No. It's not a text, not a text thread.
So
change the number for us. What do you got?
Well, Moose's number was way wrong. I was thinking, I was thinking
minus 400 is probably right.
Well, I'm a little more of an optimist. Plus, I don't want to bet on the dog.
Okay.
Although I want the dog to pay. So I was thinking minus 250 just to start.
Okay.
But I mean, Chicky and Pete's is great. Like, Deutsch is right. Everybody loves Chicky and Pete's. And who wouldn't come? We might actually, pack the place. I mean, 3 or 4 people might come that we know to come watch us do the broadcast and talk to us. What are you laughing at? Moose, you think
Wouldn't
it's
you
higher
say
than that?
We might
5 or
pack,
6?
pack the
Maybe?
place.
I don't know.
3 or 4 people we know.
I'm big in
hope
Philly.
we
I
do
don't know if
more
you know
than
this,
that.
but I'm big in Philly. I went to a Flyers game and did a piece for NHL Network where I got to go into their little panic room thing and just beat things up. It was awesome.
Stop. Tell him, Moose. Ask me a question, please.
Big in Philly.
Well, he's big in Philly. No,
Big
we
in
have
Philly.
to. I got to be honest, Dave. So I don't know if you know this, but Keith was proud as a peacock. His son played very, very well this weekend in an AAU tournament down in Jersey, right, Keith?
Yeah, Hoop Group, same place where the likes of Carmelo and Kyrie and all of those guys went through. Yep.
That's awesome. How did he do on Sunday? He had a great Saturday.
They lost in the championship.
All right.
Team they played had 3 kids that were 5'8" or taller. One kid was literally 6 feet tall and could play basketball. He was good. He was good.
He was a good player. But your son played Saturday. He was basically the MVP of both games, right?
He played really well. Yeah, he played well in the championship game too. Had 2 turnovers, which bothers him. His goal is always to go no turnovers.
Who'd they bother more, him or you?
Him. No, me. Honestly, I keep telling him that if you're going to play point guard on a team where it's run and gun, you're going to have turnovers. It's as simple as that. Like, turnovers are going to happen. So it's a matter of not having the dumb turnovers. No stupid turnovers.
First of all, let him tell you. That's my first parental advice. I've been through this now with the kids. You get in a car and on the ride home, you don't even ask. You ask them where they want to go eat, and you get other things and let them tell you. If he tells you the 2 turnovers is bad or he's concerned about the turnovers, that's good. Don't ever say anything to him about it. Let him tell you.
Yes.
And that's a good thing to shoot for. I mean, we used to have individual goals for the kids all the time. I mean, this is how you get them in that mode of doesn't matter who your opponent is. It doesn't matter where you're playing. It doesn't matter. You have to play the same way, your best every time.
Yeah.
So you hold yourself accountable for little turnovers like that. That's awesome. That's really good.
And I can tell you this.
I'm surprised I didn't get that video, actually, Moose. I expect, because
you want videos?
I didn't get a video.
I didn't send any video. I didn't send a video to Moose.
No, I did not get a video. I just got an update. Like,
yeah, Moose.
I asked him on Friday. Can you let me know how Austin does?
Yeah.
Right.
Over the weekend, down in the tournament, and on Saturday, late Saturday, he sent me an update on how Austin did. I was so happy for him. That's great.
That's good.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. I can tell you this: they've got practice tonight at 7:30.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an hour and a half practice.
Yeah.
I say over under. It'll be over 2 hours long tonight. Our coach, and this is why I love this guy, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted Austin to be a part of this program, Level Up.
Yeah.
He's one of the coaches, one of the head coaches over at Long Island Lutheran. They, perennially put players, Division I basketball players, NBA players have come through that high school. He's their coach, and now he's coaching this AAU team. He coaches this AAU team like he's coaching future college basketball players. Like, that's why.
That's all you can ask for.
He's going to run these kids. When I tell you the car ride home, Austin is going to be exhausted.
Sleeping.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
That's what you want to do. Take the energy out. Well, bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. I don't know about running them until they throw up.
I don't want to.
No, they don't need to throw up yet.
I mean, you don't need to do that, but
Yet.
you need to run because running is a vital part of basketball.
Yeah.
So if you run, you're fine.
All right, Dave, before we get into, I want to ask you, coming out of NFL, let me ask you 2 scenarios when you look at futures markets, because Keith and I talked about it a little bit earlier on. When you're looking at the NFC,
yep.
Do you think the Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are done?
I mean, you can't ever say they're done, like when you're moving the numbers and stuff, because then you give somebody a price that may get you in a meeting later. But I would be looking to take money on both of them.
You would?
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
now, do you move the number then, Dave, if you're in one of these sports books to make it more enticing to take them?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would go and, Tampa 6 weeks ago, I tweeted it yesterday at Sports Beat Cake and Sig. I said 6 weeks ago, Tampa was the consensus favorite at every sports book on planet Earth to win the NFC and to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The odds were so short. 2 weeks ago, they lost, or a week ago now, they lost to Pittsburgh as a 9-point favorite in Pittsburgh. Yesterday, that game steamed from 11 to 13, 13 and a half in places. Tampa was in every teaser, money line parlay, everything yesterday, and they lost 21-3. It wasn't just that they lost, it was the way they lost and everything going on with Brady and everything else. It was 6 weeks that they were favored. Today, I mean, 10-1 to win the NFC, 7-1, pretty much somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, I'll give
And
you
then-
BetMGM has them at 8-1 to win the NFC right now.
Okay. You got it. That's around the right number. I mean, you got to go get some Tampa money.
Yeah.
You have to move the number in the book at the time at their lowest to go get money. There's nobody coming in right now in any sports book in America, offshore, anywhere going, you know what? Give me Tampa to win the NFC today, except like guys that are looking for value. So you got to give them the value to try to get the money. And if I'm the book, I'm like, you can bet Tampa today, tomorrow, next week. I don't think they're winning the NFC. And Green Bay is a whole nother story. Green Bay may not even make the playoffs.
I know.
They have to. Tampa can still get in the playoffs because they can win their division because it's a mess.
I don't think Green Bay is catching Minnesota. I think I like Minnesota this year. I do.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I made the argument earlier, right? Keith and I disagreed to an extent. I mean, the value is there. I made the argument for, and I know I'm a New Yorker, and I'm happy that the Giants are winning games. They are 18-1 right now, and they are a 6-1 football team. And there are no, outside of Philadelphia, there are no killers in the NFC.
Right.
There really isn't. We talked about Tampa. I mean, San Francisco, the Los Angeles Rams,
Dallas.
Dallas would be a team. Obviously, the NFC East is back. But you look at a Giant team right now, and probably you might say, well, now the time to play the Giants was maybe 2 weeks ago. Maybe instead of them being 6-1 when they were 4-1, the time for them to play that. The very, very easy schedule, continue to do so. They're on the road taking on Seattle. That'll be a game in which I imagine they're right there in the fourth quarter, have an opportunity to win. Then they got Houston and Detroit. They've got very, very winnable games. Like the Giants, to me, represent some value in an NFC that is not outside of Dallas and really Philadelphia isn't particularly good.
I mean, the NFC looks like the NL did going into the playoffs to me, where I said, who's going to beat the Dodgers or who could beat the Braves? And I was trying to scoop around and find prices and do whatever on teams like the Phillies. When you look at it, you go, in a short series, they could do it. Well, in a one-gamer in the NFL, how do the Giants keep doing it? How do people keep betting against them? And then the odds makers keep making them dogs. They're going to Seattle. They got no shot at winning flying across the country and winning, right? Seattle's a 2.5 or 3-point favorite. It's going to be the same thing. All the rhombuses and parallelograms are going to be like, ha ha, told you. They continue to bet against the Giants until they're right. And then they go on social media and they go everywhere and tell you, I had them. I told you that Giants team wasn't no good. What if the Giants find a way to win a division?
Yeah.
What if they actually get a home playoff game, even as a home wild card? Sounds ridiculous. It's the NFL. If there's ever been a time where you can say nobody knows squadoosh, it's now. I mean,
7-1 to win the division.
They got to beat both teams. I mean, isn't it? This is the problem, right? Because I don't think Philly's going away, and Dallas just continues to get better. The Dallas defense is no joke.
They're not. No, they're not.
The division is back. Was it a year ago, 2 years ago? Was the worst division in football. It's completely flipped. They're all actually well-rounded, good teams, at least the top three.
Well, what's crazy is the Commanders aren't like disgustingly bad. They're fine. They're fine.
They're better with
Heineke. I know. I was texting with Moose about this yesterday, by the way. As long as Heineke is healthy and he's a Commanders guy, Washington fan, I think you keep Heineke and Wentz, even when Wentz comes back. If Heineke is healthy, Wentz is benched. I'm not putting Wentz back in that spot.
It's not a bad argument. I have been a fan of Heineke because he's made me look good betting them and taking them and competitive. I saw that line yesterday and I was like, I said it all week. I must be missing something. How is Green Bay more than a 3 or 3.5 point favorite on the road with what they've done? That's on pedigree. That's on name brand alone. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And I mean, we pick the games a lot every week on my podcast, Cash Considerations. And I mean, I said it on there. I said it, repeat it here. Green Bay, until further notice, is a play against. It is a absolute. They are a play against. Something is, what was that line? Something is amiss in whatever. It's a classic literature.
I forget what that line is.
I don't read, so no thank you.
You haven't read in a long time. We'll think of it. Maybe the chat can help.
All I read
are
sports articles.
Whatever it is. No. But something's wrong at Green Bay. Something is definitely wrong in Green Bay. And nobody's on the same page, whether it's too complicated, it's not easy enough. Simplify.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Something is rotten.
I came up with that all myself. It wasn't Keith, our producer behind the scenes. Nope, was not him. It was all me.
Right. All right.
Yes.
Dave, how do you look at tonight's Monday night game? You know, we have
do we have to?
Yeah, I mean, how anything? I mean, it's sitting at 40.5. It's an awful football game.
What a mess. I'm not going to lie.
Right. I'll be watching the Knicks tonight. I will not be.
I mean, that's what I mean. There's a lot of other things going on, right? They'll
be
watching some basketball.
What about the Pats as an 8.5 point home favorite?
Favorites this week went 8-4 yesterday straight up, but 6-6 against the spread. 4 outright dog winners. He's going back to Mac Jones. Why? I mean, Zappy, all he has done is come in and don't worry, be Zappy, win games.
Oh God.
What?
That was
Zappy days are here again?
Oh no. Zappy Valley?
Zappy Valley, Saturday. Zappy Valley, Saturday. 15-point dogs to Ohio State. We'll talk about that on Friday. What are these lines makers? What are they doing? Over 2 touchdown dogs at home to Ohio State. Might get crushed. I'm actually worried about
What time is that game on Saturday?
9:00 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern.
That's a noon game?
Yes.
Right out of the gate. Yeah.
Right out of the gate. Hit you right over the head. That's that big Fox. That's that Fox. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's at Penn State?
At Penn State. Double digits. I thought
there
the
a way
line
I
would
get
be
to
11.
that game?
I was texting with some guys on Saturday night. They were like, what do you make the game? Because they always come at me like, oh, Penn State, what do you think? Penn State housed Minnesota. So that was fun. But, I mean, I said 11 and a half and let them bet it up. They said, you're wrong. They were right. They put it at 14.5, and they still bet Ohio State.
It's 16.5 right now.
Oh,
wow. Yeah, it's 16.5 now. Wow.
I mean, that's crazy when you look at it. I mean, but James Franklin's terrible against top 10 opponents.
I mean, sometimes, Moose, like you saying it out loud, like cutting right to the core like that. I mean, that's the way of life in New York. You guys just talk and say it, and boom, punch me right in the chin. I didn't even see it coming, but you're right. You're right. No, it's fine. I'm going to talk to Paul.
You know what, Dave? You're right. I didn't dance around it. I just gave you the right cross. Right.
I know. I didn't see it coming. That's fine. All right. That's good.
Is Clifford coming back next year for his 9th year of college?
I mean, unless there's a change in eligibility rules, I don't think it's possible. But seriously, he's used every avenue there is. I don't think you can come back for a 7th year. I don't know if for some sort of.
I mean, what if he's going to be a doctor?
Yeah, right. He can stay in school, but he can't take the snaps no more. That's it. Enough of that.
I don't know,
Dave. How much action? From your experience. How much are the books going to handle when it comes to the World Series with the Stros and Phillies?
Not much. It's going to be. I'm telling you, it's just going to be one of those things. I just wanted the Yankees to win a game.
I know.
They needed to win a game, just one game. They couldn't even win a game. So now we got everybody in the world that's a baseball fan rooting against the Astros. So they've all become de facto Philly fans, which is fine. But nobody's going to, I don't know. Friday it'll be big, and hopefully the Phillies will win and get the hype train started. Maybe they can win game 1 or 2. But the story, and you're going to hear it all over, is this Mattress Mac has like $75 million to be collected if the Astros win. And I'm trying, if the Astros win, I'm going to fly around with Mac and pick up a bag with him or something and just shoot the video and just, I'll wear the Astros stuff if I have to. I'm going to try not to wear it this week at all. Maybe to try to jinx him one day. But it's going to be fun to talk about. And I think the game lines, like if it's Verlander, Wheeler, and then Fromber and Nola, like they'll be competitive lines. So you might see more action than you normally would. I mean, if it was minus 250, you see less action on the bigger money line games. So, but the World Series, man, it still draws action. It just doesn't draw as much action like when the New York teams are in it or the LA teams are in it. It's like everything else. There's just more people there, and it's the center of the universe. So it's nice when they're in it. That would have been nice that they won a game.
Dave,
would have been good.
Let me give you a few numbers. All right, Astros to win the World Series minus 185, Phillies at plus 150. Would you even mess with entertain minus 185 or not worth it for you?
I have a serious situation for the first time in a long time, but I'm holding some very extensive odds tickets on the Phillies to win the World Series. I was one of those people. You saw the master sheet, Ki.
I know.
I tried to explain it to you. You said you didn't have time, and I understand because you're very busy, and you probably were going out, either with Jody or you were going to basketball practice or something. And I tried to explain it to you. You said, "Hey, bro, I have no time," and I was like, "Okay, no problem." Because
I don't think I've ever said I have no time for you.
No, you were working out. I don't know what you were doing.
But you called me. We talked about your purple suit. Jody and I gave you advice on what to wear with the purple
night
suit.
You did. I appreciated that. I needed that.
I mean, if you're gonna throw shade at me, I'm gonna let the world know.
I love you like a brother.
What?
I'm not throwing shade, but I tried to explain. I'm not mad, bro. At all. But
Dave just pointed out he tried to help you make money, and you blew him
No,
off.
I was trying to explain it.
I can't bet on baseball anyway. I'm not allowed.
The Phillies were over 100 to 1. 100 to 1.
That's crazy.
Was the minimum price to win a World Series in these World Series exactas. So I may have partaken in a few things. I did it before those things that, some other crazy prices. So I'll probably be looking to hedge a little on the Astros, and I hate doing it, but I have to do it because I got a wife and kids and I got to make money. So
all right,
I'll
Astros to win this. All right, you go Astros to win in either 5, 6, or 7 games. Any of those are 4-1 odds.
Really?
Yep. Astros to sweep are plus 750.
They're not sweeping.
No,
they're not sweeping.
They haven't lost a game yet.
Faux, right? We'll go back to Moses.
Would that be unbelievable? Would that? I mean, seriously, that would be an unbelievable historic story. Almost as unbelievable in a historic moment as Harper's home run was.
Amazing.
Down.
Unreal.
That was unbelievable.
Well, great call by Joe Davis, too. The swing of his life.
Amazing. It was
Amazing.
So good. It was really fun. I think the Phillies are live, boys. I think they can win. But thanks for reminding me about that 5 and 6 and 7 to 1 or 5, 6, and 7 games because there's a little more value in that as long as there's not a sweep, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I'd rather take 4-1 on a couple different scenarios than lay 185, especially we'll watch these and we'll talk about it, what the series price moves to, because that was one of my favorite things to do was to move the series prices in big series events like the World Series.
All right, Dave, we're out of time. We got to go. We'll talk to you Friday.
Bye.
The great Dave Sharp.
Dave,
talk to Butch. Get it done.
Mad,
I'm
bro?
not mad, bro.
A good T-shirt, Keith. We're flat out of time. See you tomorrow morning at